You're listening or watching to the second episode of the Ground Force podcast. My name is Misha. I'm the host together with Jan, who's my co-host here. Jan van Aperen, the human forklift. If you haven't already checked out the first episode, which was about ADCC versus CGI, make sure to check that out as well. It's going to be it's an awesome episode. But today we're talking about a different topic, a bit less of a hypey thing, more of a general thing that Jan often gets questions about surrounding this topic. So what we want to talk about is how to train as a beginner white belt. And Jan has his own gym in Eindhoven. He gets a lot of questions by beginner white belts or people signing up for new classes that would like to know how to start training and how to get good at jiu-jitsu. And I guess there's a bit of a framework for that, and you need some context in order to be able to answer that question as well. So that's what we're going to be covering today. I don't know if you want to maybe tell a little bit about that, Jan. Like what kind of questions do you often get, or what's like the main thing that most white belts, most people starting off training, what are they concerned with, basically?
Well, they always want to get good really fast, obviously, and it's kind of my job to get them good as fast as possible. But then, yeah, there's some things I think you need to focus on. They always start very excited. My first advice is usually like to slow it down because yeah, we all know that injuries happen at white belt the most. And that's something you want to really try and prevent so you can actually stay on the mat. And then it comes down to like how effective are you training? But the first thing for me is always like you guys need to slow it down so you don't get injured. I think also Jiu-Jitsu is mainly, I mean, of course, it's like a combat sport, but I think within the combat sports, it's mostly also a thinking sport. Sometimes like compared to chess, I'm not sure if I completely agree with that, but it is a thinking sport. And then you need to execute intuitively, but to do that, you first need to think slow and understand what's going on, and then you need some options that you need to apply at the right time, and you learn those when you slow it down and you think and you fail and you go again.
Right. And with slowing down, you mean just training slower, or how do you
Yeah,
slow it
like
down?
not necessarily like flow roll. I'm not a fan of flow rolling. I always roll with the rules like I'm not gonna get swept and I'm not gonna get passed. Sadly, if the other guy is good as well, it does happen. I do get passed and
Right.
but like not necessarily like give stuff away, but go at a pace where your heart rate is not constantly maxed out. So you can actually use your brain a little bit. Like first you need to think slow in order to execute intuitively later on. So
Yeah.
basically that's it. Like you just don't want to go 100% crazy and only think like I need to kill the guy. I cannot lose. I need to kill the guy. Uh, you need to just worry about yourself. And in the beginning, failing is normal. Like if
Hmm.
you are a white belt and you show up and you're constantly getting passed, you constantly also get feedback on like what needs to be better. So embrace losing because you're gonna do that a lot in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. And technique wise, like what do you suggest? I guess it depends on how much hours people train in a week, like how wide of a range of techniques you can start to focus on. But what do you suggest
Yeah,
for beginners? Like should they just get a few basics and focus only on that, or take one
yeah.
week at
Like
week at a time?
they always say like focus on fundamentals. I would not just do that as beginners. Like I think if you get really good at the sport and understand why things work and just do basic techniques, uh, as you get good, you will be good at the fancy stuff anyway.
Mhm.
So um, focus on fundamentals, but that's I think not necessarily a tip just for white belts. That's like
Yeah.
everyone should all the time.
But let's say the first 4 months of training, let's say, um, for people just starting out, the range of techniques and everything is so overwhelming often. Like, what do you recommend? Like, do they take one position and a few different variations per week, or like how long do you stick to one thing that you really? Because I can imagine you want to do positional sparring, but even through your free sparring, you want to focus on just a few things, or at least try to. You're gonna get into all kinds of
Yeah.
situations, of course, when you're training with other people, but like, what do you
Yeah.
recommend
In the
there?
beginning, of course, like you have no idea what suits you best, what position is best for you, or which positions. So it's kind of key to figure that out. But that's what I would focus on. I would focus on positions, and then yeah, I'm not a big fan of just drilling moves. But yeah, if you just start and you have no idea, like you have maybe no idea of like all the positions or all the major ones. Just drill. Like it's
Right.
just depending on how much time you have, you will be spending a lot of time in the beginning just drilling. And then later on, when someone tells you like, this move works because, um, then you understand. But you kind of first need to go through the motions and just learn a couple of techniques and figure out like what positions work best for me. Do I like to get into my takedowns? Is that something that works really well for me, or am I more of a guard puller? Like if you know you want to pull guard, that's probably what you should be practicing most. And for all
Yeah.
the haters out there, I'm not saying don't do takedowns, but like you kind of want to figure that out and then focus on positions, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Focus on positions, get a couple of moves that you can combine in that position. And in the beginning, you just need to drill those moves. Don't even like in the really, really beginning, don't even worry too much about like, why does this move work? Because that understanding comes pretty easy if you know a couple of things. And you just know step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you apply, and then someone later on tells you like, yeah, that sweep always works because you control the posture, you control the hip, and you take a posting hand away. And then you will start seeing like, okay, if I do it in this way, I can do it in probably many other ways. But in the beginning, you just need to have that that one move, and then a
Yeah.
second move, and a third move, and just figure out like what position works best for you,
Yeah.
and build on that.
And maybe what do you say? Because we were talking a little bit about sparring, like in general with free sparring, if you're not in like a 8 week beginners course and everybody's sort of like you, but you're in a more free group with at least advanced white belts and blue belts in there, or maybe even higher belts. How do you how do you survive sparring, and how can you sort of maybe those two little nuggets that you got in your first months of training, like how can you get the most of the free sparring to also develop those things while you're going left
Yeah.
and right and you don't know where to hide basically, but you maybe still
Yeah.
want to focus on those things during your free sparring.
Yeah, so if it's like a class, all levels, and at the end there is some free sparring, I think as a beginner, what you want to be focusing on the most is what you're going to use the most. So that's probably going to be guard retention,
Hmm.
uh, being very defensive, learn how to frame properly, and then use that frame to bridge and hip escape your way out of pins. Basically, that's what you're gonna do the most, because even if you work on your guard retention all the time, you're gonna get passed. Uh, you're gonna be stuck in side control. You're gonna be stuck in the mount. So you want to learn how to get out of those pins. You want to understand how to escape, like the back mount, stuff like that. That's what I probably would focus on the most in the beginning, because then you get the most out of your rolls. Like if you focus on attacking in the beginning, um, like you need to be defensively sound first. Like if you cannot stop them from passing your guard, then like,
Yeah.
how are you even gonna attack? Like the time spent on that is just completely lost.
Yeah.
You will know a couple of nice sweeps, or maybe you know how to like shoot up a triangle and kill the guy every time, but you will like never get there. Like you will just always get past before that opportunity is there. So learn those first. It's probably really boring, but that's what I try to focus on the most in the beginners classes as well. Like, we do some attacks also to like keep it interesting. But we spend a lot of time just working the defense because yeah, these guys are gonna get passed all the time. They're gonna get pinned all the time. Their backs are gonna get taken all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
So if they get good there, they get more out of their role. There's gonna be more jiu-jitsu into their role, and they can build on that and hopefully get better faster and get to the attacking part.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And people, I don't know. Maybe you can tell a little bit about reasons why people often stop within the first half year, let's say first year, because that's probably interesting for people to hear. Like, what can you do to overcome those things, unless it's something outside of the training itself. But like, I guess if you focus on your defense, that also helps you to stay a little bit more motivated. If you're not just all the time inside of a triangle or like like in a half
Yeah,
choke or you know.
there needs to be progress, right?
Yeah,
So I think that's what I mean. Jiu-jitsu is a tough sport, so people start very motivated and then they figure out they're maybe not as tough as they thought after a few months of training 5 days a week and then getting triangled all the time, getting passed all the time. And yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's a reality. You kind of need to be okay with losing. Uh, that's how you get better. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. It's people never give me the real reason why they quit, I think. But I think the main thing is that they expect faster progress
yeah,
than
yeah,
they actually and there can be a combination, right? Like sometimes it can be the coach. Maybe they don't focus on those defensive things, or I don't know, maybe the coach just doesn't work for you. Maybe your expectations are really high. Maybe you think training once a week should get you somewhere in 3 months. And then all the other guys might be training 3 times a week or even more.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like it's going to be hard. Like jiu-jitsu is a very technical sport. Like obviously, like strength and conditioning plays a role, but mostly it's like the technique will win the role. And yeah, if someone is just training more, you should lower your expectations because
yeah.
especially if that person is already better than you, then you will probably always lose.
Yeah,
It's
because
too much.
and perhaps based on because you've told me this story many times how your first instructor, your first professor instructed you like about training a frequency and the results that you can expect and how to get better fast. Like perhaps that's also a thing that a lot of people, even though it's very like common sense, it's like very logical, but maybe a lot of people
Yeah,
don't realize this well enough.
it's a simple formula, right? It's like work in is result out, basically. And yeah, that's maybe the best advice I got. It's like, dude, if you do it like 5 to 6 hours a day, you get good really fast. And some people get scared. They're like, fucking hell, I have to roll like 5 hours a day. And I was like, that's really simple because even when I'm losing, uh, I like the sport. I like training. I just have to do it like 5 hours a day and I get good. It's like
Yeah,
for me it was very easy. I had the time. I was just studying at the time, so it was like. But yeah, I think that's the only shortcut. Like if you want to get good fast,
yeah,
you just have to do it a lot and
right.
be okay with losing because that's just going to be your reality. Um, and with losing, I mean like losing the rounds, losing the positions. And then at the same time, to keep yourself motivated, I think you should set these mini goals. It's like because I remember like I had a little bit of an MMA background when I started, so I was like I really went to the gym with the idea like I'm gonna at least fuck up a blue belt, like that's gonna happen for sure, and I was very wrong. Like all the blue belts were killing me, like and easy as well. Like I had never trained in the gi, but I was very confident that I would for sure do well against the blue belt, and then yeah, the reality was is like I knew nothing. Like, uh, and if you decide then like I do want to get good at this, like you should be okay with losing for yeah, like if you train a lot, it's gonna be at least a year, at least
Yeah,
at least a year that it's gonna be super tough against even blue belt.
yeah. And what are some tricks for people that are in that situation to maybe mentally deal with that?
Yeah, that's what like, I didn't really finish my thought there. But that's what I mean with like these mini goals, set mini goals, because like if you walk into the gym and you're like, I'm gonna kill blue belts, and then that doesn't happen, and that doesn't happen the next month, and the month after that, and maybe 8 months after that, it's gonna be still tough. But that doesn't mean you're not making progress. So like if I'm passing the guard and I just get swept within 10 seconds, I have no clue what they are doing. It all seems like magic to me. Uh, but if after a month I can stay on that top position for maybe 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, maybe they even had to do some guard retention. Now I'm doing really well. Like I'm still gonna get swept. I'm still gonna get my guard passed after that. I'm probably choked out. But like set those mini goals where you like learn how to like, for example, stay on top a little bit longer. Um, Maybe you get in a situation where you can now actually be outside of the guard and pass side to side. And um, it's the same as when you're playing guard. Maybe you've developed into like I have like a preferred guard or something. I don't know what you like. Maybe you like playing De La Riva or something. And every time you get to that position, which is pretty easy,
Mhm.
uh, they just break all the grips and they pass you. But if you get to a position where you play that guard and now you off balance the person, like I don't know, you go left and they are like, oh, I need to like get my balance back. That's a win. Like that person probably still passes your guard for the next 6 months,
Yeah.
but that's a win. And if you then like maybe off balance them like to the left and off of their reaction you take them to the right, and now maybe you see an option to sweep, but still like it's like it doesn't work at all. Those are all wins. So set like small mini goals and build upon those. I think that will keep you motivated, and yeah, like set those goals so you're like really working towards something, but don't expect to walk into a jiu-jitsu gym and
Yeah.
just kill everyone because you're very
'Cause-
strong and you're fit, and you just see red when you fight. Like all those things don't really work, and they are very discouraging because yeah, the reality is you will lose rounds for quite some time. So
yeah,
that
that's a
that
good
that used
point.
to help me a lot. Just set those mini goals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I can imagine a lot of people, they see only a submission as like a win, or but those in between steps are of course, well, at least
Yeah,
as important because they're just a setup towards that.
that's maybe another thing for beginners to like not focus on, because like of course you see in the UFC you see the submissions and all that stuff. Jiu-Jitsu is mainly about like how to control a person, and then work towards or like building up a lot of pressure, and like those end stages where yeah you can just easily submit a person. It's nice when you see in the competition that there's like flashy triangles and a lot of flying stuff going around. But I think you will always want to be focusing on training the hard part, which is actually like controlling the person 100% and building those positions where you can put so much pressure on them that they want to quit, they want to give you that submission, rather than just jumping on necks, because that's going to be especially when it's white belts amongst each other and no one has good posture, stuff like that is very easy.
Yeah,
But then when you go to the
you don't learn
competition,
much.
you don't learn much, and I think when you go to a competition, for example, you will find out that you actually didn't learn anything. Like that doesn't
Right.
work at all. When they fight you 100% and they want to really try and not get submitted, and that's a game where you get yeah very tired very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a good one. Yeah.
So let go of the fast submissions, and I would say, and focus a lot on the positional control that works towards the submission, right? Like that's still the goal.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. There needs to be a path there. Yeah, I guess I already, because we're doing these podcasts for about half an hour each. I can already feel that we can do like 10 more just for beginner white belts, because there's just a lot to talk about, a lot to say. I was wondering, are there maybe like what are the funniest questions, and not to sort of make fun of people? No questions are bad, like almost, I'd say. But are there some
I don't
like
think that's true at all.
But are there things that you would say, like just some funny stereotypical questions that do make sense so that we can discuss them, and people can get an answer to them who might have the same questions?
Yeah, yeah, not for me, not really a question that I get that I think like that's I mean, there's probably funny questions, but it's more that I get like a lot of people that they show up and they they notice like, oh, jiu-jitsu is tough. Like if the other guy hits better, like it doesn't really matter like how much I move, how much I spaz out, like they just control me. And then they think that it's an issue that their cardio ran out or that their strength was not sufficient. And they
Right.
always they always tell me like, dude, I like it a lot, but I'm gonna lift weights first and do some running, and then I come back and yeah, like those people have a jiu-jitsu problem. It's most of the time not a strength or conditioning problem. Everyone, like
Right.
most people are strong enough. They're like, and also like my cardio is really not necessarily elite. It's just you try to be as efficient as possible with your jiu-jitsu. So I
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
think that's something that's especially in the beginning, like that's really like unless you're a very weak person, you can focus on on doing some bench pressing or something. But then still, like the chances of you bench pressing someone off of you are quite low, I think.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
you
So
should
you're
focus
you're
on.
you're saying is most people spend more energy because they don't have technique, so they're getting stuck in positions and fighting and scrambling, and they also haven't learned to
Yeah,
properly use their
and then
energy.
a lot of people in the beginning, or a lot, like I see it quite often that they then think that the answer is in like how to bench press more or deadlift more and do heavier squats. And it's like you guys all have a jiu-jitsu problem. It's not a strength problem. You just need to train more and get better at using your frames and getting out of pins. It's like bench pressing 20 kilos more or 50 kilos more is not going to help you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And is that oh, camera losing my camera there. And is that also something that you think most gyms can facilitate to get people in the right mindset, and not just this question but also previous topics we discussed, like is that something that you can find in any gym, or are there certain considerations that people need to keep in mind when choosing a gym or choosing a coach?
I think so, yeah. I think that's the job of the coach, right? Like he should motivate you to train and he should facilitate uh, like obviously like good technique, but also the coach decides like what positions are we focusing on and how are we playing those positions. And for example, like if you go to a beginner's class that just to exaggerate focuses on like how to do flying triangles, it's like I think as a beginner you should learn how to do a triangle
Mhm.
for sure. But how you apply it is very important. Or is if the beginner's class is just about attacking and never defending, it's like then the coach doesn't really understand like what these beginners need. Like they, they are gonna be defending all the time. So maybe we should do the boring stuff and focus on that. So we can also all go into the offense later on.
Yeah, yeah,
So that
exactly.
is the job of the coach to just make sure the program is sound and the people in the class get what they need.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I guess the ideal gym, you have like training partners that are your level, but also higher level, so you can climb up there. You have a good coach, good facilities. On the
Yeah,
other hand, I think this is also how you came up a bit. Maybe when you're at a place where there's only white belts, or there's just not so many people to train with, there's not so much knowledge yet, also, or maybe people don't want to train that many hours, then you're also being forced to be a bit more proactive about your training, to think about it yourself, to plan, to talk to people like, hey, maybe you
yeah,
can roll then and look up stuff on YouTube or other ways of watching videos. Like, how can you get the best of both worlds? Let's say if
yeah,
you do have access to a gym that is a bit more facilitating in that way, but you still don't want to fall into the trap of just, okay, I'm at class now, I'm just gonna do what the coach says, and then I'm gonna go home and sleep on the
No, you
couch.
should always take charge of your own learning.
Mhm.
Not just in jiu-jitsu, like with everything you do, like whatever, if you, I don't know, you're studying something, you also need to take charge of your own learning, because otherwise you're just going to fulfill the requirements of the exam and you're not really learning something. With jiu-jitsu is the same thing, like and also like as a coach, I play a certain game and I can tell you why the positions work and why these type of sweeps always work like this, and just the rules of like how to pass guard and all that stuff and how to control the person from the mount.
Yeah.
But my game, like I favor a certain game because of my body type as well. um, like I'm a little bit shorter. If I have to coach a more lanky type of guy, he might have the preference for a completely different game. I think as a coach, I should facilitate like the basics there, um, but I should also recognize that I might not be an expert in that field, and that person needs to take charge of their own learning as well. And yeah, whether it's YouTube instructionals, for sure you need to always just get your information from as many places as possible that will get you ahead further. Even training at other gyms. I know some gyms don't like that, but I always tell my guys, like, for sure, like if you are somewhere else, like you should train somewhere else, because like maybe there the coach explains different and for you works better. I don't know.
Right.
Get your information from as many places as possible, and I think your coach should be open about that.
Right. Right. Yeah, it makes a
And
lot of
then like one
sense.
thing that you said about like training with like different type of people on the mat. So in a beginner's class, there's obviously going to be mostly white belts. So the level of knowledge is not going to be that high. But maybe if you go to an intermediate or an advanced or something, or yeah, maybe some purple belts show up to a beginner's class. I think as a white belt, at least for me, it worked really well to always try to train with the guys that have the most experience.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
If you just do that, like of course when you roll with the purple belt, you will probably win every time. But when you do the technique with the purple belt, they have usually good insight. So you will learn faster just directly from them and doing the technique with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Maybe a little tip. How can you make it? And obviously, everybody needs to help each other out. But I can, not if you're a higher belt, you also don't want to only roll with white belts. You also want to advance your own game. Like, how can you sort of respectfully get their instructions or experience, roll with them without sort of spamming them, let's say?
Oh, like if you're gonna be annoying with questions or something.
Yeah.
No, you
Or yeah.
just roll with them. Just they will probably let you work anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
unless you start like kicking their knees or kick them in the face too much. Then
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe that's part of the question. Like, how can you, learn without
slow it down again. Like
taking advantage of their hospitality of,
yeah,
not.
slow it down.
Yeah,
Show that you are there to learn and not to kill them.
right.
It's like
Yeah,
yeah, that's basically it. Like slow it down. Just show them like you are there to learn. You're there to, and you don't have to like I don't know, like it's still a fight or a fight. People don't like that in jiu-jitsu, right? It's a match or just a roll. But like you can you can approach the roll as like you want to sweep them, you want to pass their guard, you want to pin them in the mount. It's probably not going to happen,
right.
um, but just don't spaz out. Slow it down. Try to match their pace, because the purple belt's probably not going to go all out when he's rolling with a white belt. So try to
Sure.
match their pace so they also recognize like, this guy just wants to train.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And there you will just see faster what's going on. Also try to learn from the things they do. Try to learn from all the moments and the movements in between certain technique when they are switching positions and stuff. That you can only see it when you just slow down, think slow. It will be
yeah,
intuitive if you do it like this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we came nicely full circle this way because this is also where we started out with slowing down. Um, yeah, thanks a lot again for sharing your experiences. I hope people enjoy this. If you have any questions about this episode, people watching or listening, leave us a comment below. Or if you have like ideas about future episodes or questions that we can discuss later on, also let us know, and we'll definitely go over your question during one of the future episodes. So thank you, Jan, and thanks everybody for watching or listening. See you the next time.
Cool.